Hello, and welcome to our introduction to function points. Generally speaking, software is spread out in a domain like a cloud. But in order to count function points, one of the first things we need to do is to decide the boundary of our particular application. So in this case, our application is a subset of all of that software that we might have in our organization. Remember that there is software inside and outside of the application. Now that's important because when we start to talk about function points, we have to count from a user perspective. The user is looking at that application boundary like a box. The users can be humans or other devices. It could be an external system. So from the user perspective, there are three transaction types. Outputs, that's the stuff that's coming out of the box to me. Inputs, stuff going from me into the box. And inquiries. Inquiries are different from inputs and more similar to outputs because although data gets returned, the state of the data doesn't change inside the box. If we look at those transaction types together, we can calculate our function points. We start with our application and assume that there is some data stored in the application, inside the application boundary. Then we assume that there is some data stored outside the application boundary. Now that may be actual data or other systems that contain data, but we look at it all as external data. We call the internal data internal logical files, and the external data external logical files. We have already talked about our external outputs, inputs, and inquiries related to the user. We can take all of these things and figure out a function point count based on those 5 variables. For each instance of each variable, we decide its complexity as being low, average, or high. We then apply a formula using the different components so that for low, average, and high, we have different multipliers for each variable instance. For this example, we have one ILF that's low, one ILF that's average, and one ILF that's high, as well as 2 EOs, external outputs, that are low. By taking the multipliers, we can work out that there are 32 points related to ILFs and 8 points related to EOs, giving us a total of 40. Therefore, the total unadjusted number of function points is 40. Now this is a very basic example. There are lots of complexities that occur in the calculation of function points, and while it takes us a few minutes to teach you the basics, it could take 3 to 6 months to get you certified. But hopefully this will help you understand the basics. Thank you for joining us.